Hi, it's Nick here from the Talk and Power podcast. We are proud to announce Auto One as our brand partner for the podcast. Auto One, it's the one. You can now order online with click and collect or get your order shipped. Head to www.auto1.com.au. Like us at the podcast, Auto One has a passion for cars and all things automotive. They understand your love of cars too. With great prices and the biggest brands you know and trust, they are sure to be able to help you with your project, whether it be replacing your wiper blades, fitting out your four-wheel drive with the latest gear, or rebuilding your dad's old HQ Holden. Not sure on how to install those spotlights? Don't panic. Just head to the website and click on the do-it-yourself videos and Rico will talk you through the process. From Auto One in Albany up to Auto One in Karratha, across to Auto One in Townsville, down to Auto One in Hobart, and over 50 stores in between. Auto One has a retail store nearby with expert advice and the stock on hand. Auto One is committed to bringing you the brands you know and trust at great prices. Coupled with the team's knowledge and experience, Auto One, it's the one.
Talk and Power, your motorsport and motoring radio show. Now on 88.5 FM, The Valley Comes Alive. And podcasting across iTunes and talkandpower.com.au.
Okay, welcome to episode 91 of the Talk and Power podcast. And I am joined by Stan Khose and James McDonald. Thanks for having me here, guys.
Oh, great to be here, Nick. Just looking forward to it.
Look, before we get too stuck into it, we're here at your place tonight. We're going to talk all things Australian Street Machine Federation, the WA branch,
yep,
and what that's all about. But before we get stuck into that, I just need to cover off and we just need to announce our winner of the Auto One prize pool, John Sabo. Congratulations, John. You've won the $50 gift card, so we'll be sending that out to you in the coming days, so congratulations. All you need to do is like, comment and share the official Talk and Power episode 91 post. So he did that for episode 90 with Greg Carter. So, you too can win $50. We'll draw out one lucky winner who likes, comments and shares the episode 91 post. And just like John Szabo, you'll get $50 to spend at Auto One. And I think John, he's building a pretty stout new car. And I can't say too much, but that $50 will be gone like that. So
that's awesome. That's great. Yeah,
it is good. All right, look, let's get stuck into it, guys. I mean, let's just kick off by saying, once again, thanks for having us on. The Australian Street Machine Federation, WA. Stan, before we get stuck into that, tell us a little bit about yourself, because some of our Eastern States listeners might not be aware of what you do and your history in modifications.
Okay, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your how you all got started in this love affair with cars.
I suppose, Nick, like, I think we did some. I said some of it on our Facebook page when I grew up here. This culture with modified cars, it was part of growing up. So, like, obviously, being in the metal trades as I got into my apprenticeship. The car thing was still there, but modifying cars and having the group of people that I grew up with that all had the similar interests. We, yes, regulations to a point when we were younger. I'd say just because we were young, we sort of dismissed the proper regulations. But as I got older and my hobby turned into a business, I looked more into the legalities of modifying cars, which then I found out there were a lot of problems, which a lot of people didn't voice, but they were having struggles with, mainly with the Department of Transport. So a friend of mine, a customer, friend, has still a very beautiful HG Monaro, and we were just casually talking about, my Tirana hatchback. putting a V8, and I just told him, look, there's a lot of frustration around it. There's restrictions, and he said, made me aware of what was going on in South Australia. So it sort of took me. Well, I didn't realise that the laws in South Australia were so good. So anyway, long and short, after that, I decided to contact the Queensland division of the Australian Street Machine Federation, and from there they were really helpful in listening to me and saying, look, if you want to open up a WA division, yes, go ahead, you've got our authority. So I went through the legal channels of getting that registered, and from there I already had Claude on board, Claude Delise, and then I looked into another guy that is quite well known in the street machine scenes, and that was Chris Bitmead, with his ex-boss Falcon. And Chris went through the whole procedure with his car. Very, very well built and engineered, and Chris was, all credit to Chris and everyone that was on that car. I was lucky. I had a small part in the fabrication of X-Boss. So then I approached James from Shannon's, and James came on board with a wealth of knowledge from the insurance side of things. And so between James, Claude, Chris, myself, and obviously my wife, which continuously does all the administration, I started to contact some polys over east, and found out very quickly that yes, every state was was interpreting the modification rules differently. And I was told that WA, if there was issues in WA, and that's what I was looking at trying to improve, I needed to concentrate on the WA state itself. So yeah, so look, to cut it short from that point, the rest of the help and information and research came from James, Claude and Chris. And together we've just been moving forward. Recently, we decided, so let me go back quickly. We started in 2016, and then from there, obviously now we're in 2020, we've now decided to put a Facebook page, just to keep people informed of our progress and what we've been doing. The reason why we didn't put anything out before that was because we had some confidentiality with government departments, and it was not appropriate to release any information at that point. I'm not saying we have succeeded in what we are trying to do, and hence why I'm grateful that we're on your podcast. And yeah, look, with your podcast, Nick, hopefully myself tonight, and I mean I'd like James to take it from here. But James, what would you?
Well, yeah. Tell us, James. I mean, give us a little bit about your history as well, because a lot of people would know you from donning on the polo and the Shannon's gig and getting around with the Go-Go Mobile. But tell us a little bit about yourself, and then if you want to elaborate a little bit further on some of the facts that you found.
Yeah, sure. So. I've been on your show a couple of times now, and most of your listeners would know me as James McDonald from Shannon's Insurance, and I've touted a few times, that everyone from Shannon's is a motoring enthusiast, and I guess you're sort of seeing the tip of the iceberg here is, me in a different capacity, me, not working for Shannon's, but sharing my love of modified and well, any vehicle really in the community, and I've been part of the ASMF for a couple of years now. Stan originally approached me asking for information that I could provide, and we're always pretty I guess pretty strict with the information that we can provide, but certainly when we see a good cause and we can get on board, well, we did, and I continued sort of to move forwards in a personal capacity, and that's why outside of hours I'm working with a lot of this information and really trying to further the developments for modified cars in WA.
Yeah. One of the things I said I elaborated on there was the facts, and your Facebook videos highlight let's talk about the facts. Can you elaborate a bit on the incidence of modified vehicles and their incidents in road traffic accidents?
Yeah, sure. So I can't take all the credit for those videos. In actual fact, the majority of those sort of vehicle incidents statistics come from Claude Delis, who's done a lot of research and found a lot of papers from one particular one that was in a recent video was the Curtin Monash University did a collaboration study, which was the incidence rate of high-powered vehicles on novice drivers. Now, whilst not directly relevant to what we're talking about, because their focus was on novice drivers, certainly the groups that they were comparing to, well, that subset of information there was very relevant to us, because they were comparing engine capacity, or engine cylinders in this case, so 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder and 8-cylinder engines, and measuring the incidence rate of killed and seriously injured accidents, as well as general minor accidents and whatnot as well. But certainly the focus was on those major serious injuries. And what it showed us is that those drivers with V8 engines, which traditionally are those drivers of V8 engines, which are traditionally in high-powered performance vehicles, had a significantly lower incidence rate than any other vehicle category, and that's per vehicle or per capita or per population size as well. So,
yeah. So what you're saying there in layman's terms is that basically a modified vehicle or a vehicle with a V8 engine is its representation in vehicle traffic accidents is very low.
Exactly right.
Minimal.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. So tell us I won't say the battle. Battle's the wrong word.
Yeah.
But the dialogue. Let's use the word dialogue.
Okay.
Tell us a bit about the dialogue that currently you're undertaking. I know you've gotten Aaron Stonehouse, member of Legislative Council on board.
Yep. Tell
us a little bit about your dialogue with the government and where you're at right now.
Sure.
Well, I suppose so far every contact that obviously when we have meetings with James and Claude and Chris, I always tell them, well, we always come to a conclusion where, which door do we go and open now? So I've personally made the contact with Aaron Stonehouse, and he was one of very few that actually reached out and said, look, I can see what your cause is. I've got other issues, but I'll take it on board. And through his help with the Legislative Council, James and myself and my wife Rita, we went into the first meeting, and it was that deciding meeting that we put forth all our statistical information that we had. Aaron was. Well, he was very impressed. He was very impressed that we had so much factual information, and from there, the Department of Transport, we've always maintained our, trying to keep wanting to have a working relationship.
Yeah, definitely.
And we did in the beginning, but that sort of stopped pretty quickly after the first meeting because the man in charge was moved on in his position. I'd rather not mention any names, but since then we've had a little bit of communication with them. I know the Department of Transport James, they've been really looking into the concessions for classics, the C4C. That's going through as far as we know. But
they've also been pretty tied up. I know they've had some legislation that they've been trying to pass for Uber drivers, or
that's right,
driving for hire and reward, and they're trying to really sort of revolutionise that. And that's they've been pretty open that's been their main focus of the working groups at the moment. But they've certainly in every face-to-face meeting that we've had with the Department of Transport, they've always been fairly open that they want to work with us. It's just the follow-through's never quite to the level that we're hoping for.
Yeah. And we certainly have everything in point form or as in facts. They've never come back to us and said our facts weren't right. But yeah, I suppose the frustration at the moment is as we say, the dialogue with them is a little less from them, and we've not done anything to give them the impression that we were not trying to work.
Yeah. So let's focus on what we perceive as the core of the problem, or what I perceive as the core of the problem. Would that be the understanding of VSB 14 and how that...
I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I was going to actually say, maybe if we, rather than speaking in these terms, we actually say, what the issues are that we're facing.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
Effectively, the crux of the issue for most people that have a modified car, take it to the Department of Transport with the intent of modifying it, is this piece of legislation called Regulation 235. What Regulation 235 is written into the Road Traffic Act is as a veto power by the Department of Transport, where if they deem a vehicle is unsafe, they can actually refuse a vehicle application at any stage from getting licensed and placed on the roads. So
Yes.
the intention of that regulation was always to be a vehicle has been effectively following all of the regulations, Vehicle Standards Bulletin 14, or the National Code of Practice, which is colloquially referred to as Vehicle Standards Bulletin 14 version 2. And so someone's built their car to that, but they've got very poor workmanship. So that's what Regulation 235 is supposed to be. Is it's supposed to cut out those vehicles where someone's sort of been a bit of a bush mechanic in their backyard, and they've
Yes.
used a stick welder on the chassis, and technically it's kind of okay according to VSB 14, but they don't want that sort of vehicle on the road. There's no guarantee it's going to track straight down the road.
Bad
It's probably
workmanship.
poor workmanship.
Poor
exactly.
workmanship.
So we can understand why they have 235.
Exactly right.
No,
Yeah,
there's
there's no doubt of that.
100%. It's a perfectly reasonable clause to have in a piece of legislation. Where the issue comes in is that it's become a sort of a catch-all for the Department of Transport, that effectively any vehicle with an increased power output is now being vetoed by
Yes.
Regulation 235, regardless of if it conforms to VSB 14 and the workmanship is being carried out correctly.
Yeah.
So
this is where I don't understand, and this is where I lose track of what the Department of Transport is about, because I read some of the correspondence that you submitted, and some of the letters that came back from the Department of Transport to respective owners applying for modifications. The dialogue, I've got to be frank, it wasn't great, it wasn't encouraging, and it wasn't written in the spirit. The letter wasn't written in the spirit of what it wasn't endorsing or asking for further clarification or other modifications to be performed. It was basically, as you said, a veto, and it was a
Very short.
a no.
Yeah.
And I felt that's not in the spirit of the Department of Transport. I could be wrong, but it didn't feel right to me when I read those letters.
that's exactly right, and we've had a fair bit of dealing with a long-standing vehicle, not an inspector, but he's had a long history with the Department of Transport. And
Yes.
he was actually partly responsible for the implementation of VSB 14 nationally, and he's come to us and he's basically said, well, VSB 14 was originally intended as a document to assist a motoring enthusiast or a member of the public to modify their car in a safe way, and the real reason was to assist the Department of Transport, to assist in how they create a vehicle, not to block it, not to say no. It was supposed to be an aid to help people modify their cars in the way they wanted to.
They're not encouraging, as you say, they're not encouraging builders of street machines, if you want to call that, in trying to help educate them.
Yeah, it didn't seem like the letters were written with endorsement or encouraging of going down a different avenue, or performing some other modification that would rectify what they had an issue with.
Yeah.
And that's where I can understand a veto power, but I
Yes.
can't understand when it was so black and white. It was just a no.
It seems there's a little bit of confusion even within the Department of Transport. To be perfectly honest,
I think so too. Yeah.
I don't know how deep you got into the rabbit hole of the link I sent you to the...
Pretty deep, James.
Okay. Well, in one of the sections where the Legislative Council link that I sent you actually had a video from the Department of Transport. And watching that whole thing through... you kind of get the sense that they're not really sure. They're asked a direct question by Aaron Stonehouse in that video, and it's in the transcript as well, where he asks, well, what is the purpose of this, and is there a right of review? And they don't really give a proper answer. They're like, oh well, yeah, kind of. The managing director of the Department of Transport technically has the right of review, and he can reverse a decision. But we're not sure. We'll get back to you, which I don't think they ever actually did get back to them either. So
that video, to be frank with you, I looked. The gentleman, he works for the Department of Transport. He was probably doing the best he could, but it wasn't very endorsing on his. The other thing that I want to touch on is this number. I'll call it the number, 180 kilowatts per tonne. He was, he wasn't factually correct with that either. No. But anyway, in the spur of the moment, I guess he was under pressure and probably answered not honestly as possible, but it wasn't correct.
Well, yeah, correct. It was incorrect information, and the way that he conveyed that information was not really of saying he was unsure. He was actually pretty adamant that his department had reviewed several hundred vehicle specifications, and none of them came within 180 kilowatts per tonne, which is just factually incorrect.
He questioned Rick Mazza's analogy of a GTR XU1 and the GT Falcon.
And the GT Falcon as well.
Yes.
So just moving on from there as well, you guys actually did a bit of research. Must have taken a long time.
Yes.
You guys found 53 vehicles, 53 vehicles out of the factory prior to 1990 available in Australia?
Yes, so some of them were listed as imports. So,
but you could still buy them in Australia.
You could still buy them in Australia, and you can still buy them in Australia to this day.
So, 53 vehicles that out of factory that exceeded 180 kilowatts per tonne prior to 1990.
Yes,
I did a bit of research as well. The latest Toyota Camry is 140 kilowatts per tonne.
Okay.
That's the V6 version, but you can buy that, and that's 140. So 180 doesn't really leave you with
much leeway.
No. So that number, I know we're not really sure where it's derived from, but is there some sort of inclination as to?
Well, actually, James, it's not directly to it, but one of the main guys at the department referred me to Vic Roads, where they have 130 kilowatt per tonne, but when we looked into it, it was a restriction for probationary drivers to not have a vehicle any more than 130 kilowatt per tonne. It was a bit misleading because I was referring to the person at the Department of Transport about the 180 and kilowatt per tonne for modified cars, but he gave me that information to look into, and so James, I don't think it's derived from, it's out of their own.
The only place that any sort of power to weight ratio is specified at all within the Department of Transport's legislation or website is on the LAMS, the Learner Motorcycle Scheme, where there's a power to weight ratio. I believe it's 150 kilowatts per tonne. I could be wrong there.
Is that with the motorcycles?
With motorcycles, yeah. And that is the only place that they specified any sort of power to weight ratio. And again, that's for novice motorcycle riders. It's not for experienced drivers with modified vehicles at all. It's as far as we can tell, completely irrelevant.
Yeah. So help me understand this part then. Currently, as it stands, we have 12 engineers.
12 signatories.
12 signatories still. If they're able to sign off on a vehicle's modification, why do you think then when it gets to the Department of Transport that it gets blocked there? This is the bit that I'm not...
Well, just briefly on that, there's 12 listed signatories. The Department of Transport does also make mention that they will accept other signatories if they have provable qualifications. They'll also accept engineers from interstate as well. So there is a fairly big pool of people that they'll accept. But back to your question. Stan,
Well, with all the engineers that have given their certification, people have spent a lot of money going to an engineer to ask or to ask for advice on the modifications. I suppose, as James put it, the crux of the problem that we're wanting to find out now is, I did ask the question on one of the Legislative Council videos about the engineer giving the tick and who in the department actually looks over that. And I was told that it was their mechanics. So I asked, is the mechanic have a higher level of understanding engineering than an engineer himself? The answer I never got an answer.
Yeah.
So people are spending good money with an engineer to get it done right, and the departments. I personally think, I mean, I know all four of us have discussed so many different things, but I know that one of the main guys that was signing off these rejection letters personally said to me that he was concerned that anything from 1960s to 1980s didn't have crumple zones, didn't have the crash testing and the crumple zones that the newer vehicles have. Mm-hmm. And that was the concern of having high-powered engines in these cars.
And something that a lot of people have identified here, elaborating on this point now, is that the crumple zones, sure, the vehicle from factory doesn't have crumple zones built in, but if you're following the speed limit and you're not driving dangerously, which there's separate legislation for that, which is the Hoon laws and the speeding laws, there's no additional risk for having a higher powered vehicle provided you're following the road rules. And in the same sense, a factory vehicle can still exceed the speed limit. It can still drive in a dangerous manner, even if it's from the 1960s. You've got GTHO Falcons, you've got Tiranas. They were capable of 200 plus kilometers an hour.
Yeah, and
they can still be hooned. And well, if it's stock standard, it's got stock standard brakes, stock standard suspension from the 60s, 70s, 80s. If you've got an engineered car, well, the engineer is performing these modifications. They're not just letting you go ham on the engine and not doing anything else.
Exactly.
You're upgrading your brakes and suspension. So a like-for-like car, a modified versus unmodified classic vehicle, would actually perform better in a crash, irrespective of what speed they're travelling, because they can travel faster. Yeah. They can travel faster in the stock standard car than the speed limit, but they've got better suspension and better brakes to back them up in this case. So it really doesn't seem like a very comprehensive argument. I know perhaps they're holding back and they've got other statistics that they haven't shared with us, but certainly we're all ears. We've been asking for this information.
Yeah. So that leads me to my next question then. Do you think, I'm playing a bit of a devil's advocate here, but do you think that there is genuine concern for the driver from the Department of Transport, or are they protecting the driver of the modified vehicle, or is there this perceived notion that they have to protect the general public of those vehicles?
The community safety.
Yeah, you'd say both, because they've always got.
I would say, yeah.
If you look at the Road Safety Council's latest Towards Zero, which is Towards Zero 2020, I believe, they've really got both of those sort of statistics or statistical areas really at the forefront. They're not really saying one over the other. I mean, they're talking about pedestrian safety. They're also talking about occupant safety. And when they were talking about reducing speed limits on some of the key roads where there was a big outcry, and Premier Mark McGowan said that's never going to happen, which, side note, they've actually started to reduce some of the speed limits in locations now, but they never really seem to focus on one over the other. So, look, I think genuinely somewhere there they do have the safety of the occupant and the safety of the community at heart. and they feel, perhaps through misinformation or a lack of understanding about what an actual motoring enthusiast is.
Yeah.
A motoring enthusiast isn't someone that's going to do 180 in a 60 zone.
Yes.
That's a hoon,
Yeah.
and they're not the same.
Yep.
A motoring enthusiast can be a hoon, but a motoring enthusiast is someone that cares about their car. They respect the vehicle. They respect law enforcement, and they really, they're there to do the right thing. They're just there because they love their car, and they want to modify their car just the same as someone wants to collect stamps. There's really, it's a hobby. It's a passion. It's not they want to modify their car so they can go out and do burnouts through the whole, city. It's nothing like that.
Yep. So I guess let's just talk about the process then. So like someone like myself, XW Falcon, 6-cylinder, I want to go Cleveland. I can go Cleveland or Windsor because that model actually had both.
Yeah.
So I still need to apply to perform those modifications.
With the standard engines, say in the XWXY with the 302 Windsor or 351, the power output of those engines, I mean, I'm not going to go into the details of it now, but as an example, I've had a couple of customers through my business that he had a 302 in the vehicle before and he wanted to put a 351, and it was rejected. It was rejected because they said the 351 exceeded the 180 kilowatt per tonne.
Yeah. So this is I guess, now this information to me is not readily available out there.
No.
And this is, it's incumbent, I guess, on the department to make that readily available because I mean, I know that I need to do that, but a lot of people would assume even this Tirana here, I guess, it's fine to do that because it came out of the factory in that manner, but it's not. That's
a small block 350 in that Tirana. That Tirana behind us is the one that actually started this whole thing in 2016. It's my hatchback Tirana, and it's got a 6-cylinder in it. So, you're right. That's where this whole thing came from. But getting back to what you're saying, I find a lot of, not just my own customers, but other businesses in Perth that have contacted us and said to us that their customers are having difficulty trying to find this information.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I guess that's the key point. It's one of the key, not the key point, but one of the key points to take away from this is that at the very least it's incumbent on the person modifying the vehicle to apply for the modifications at the very least, no matter how menial we think that they are or they may be. I mean, clearly not roof racks or anything like that, but I mean...
So the descriptions of what modifications need to be approved by the Department of Transport, that section is fairly clear on their website. If you go into vehicle, my vehicle, modify a vehicle, there's a section there, and there's a simple modification, there's 3 categories basically. So there's a simple, there's a basic, and there's a extensive modification. They're not the exact terms.
Yes.
Effectively, the one that doesn't need any approval is roof racks or bull bars, tow bars, things like that. Then you can go for headlight changes and things like that. And
that's right.
That's fairly clear on the Department of Transport website. Albeit you do have to know that that's an issue in the first place before you actually start modifying the vehicle, which a lot of people, particularly young people that are new into modifying vehicles, don't know is required, and whether that be because of social media and they see people in the US doing all sorts of crazy things to their car and no one cares. Or whether the Department of Transport or the government could do a better job of letting people know this, if they could have some sort of scheme in place where people go to local part shops and the part shops have a sign on the wall that says, hey, make sure that you get this modification checked out with the Department of Transport first. There's certainly steps they could take to make people more aware. that a vehicle that gets modified may need to go to the Department of Transport for assessing. And if it's just a like for like engine swap, even that's still considered a simple modification. So if you're putting a 6-cylinder into a 6-cylinder, it needs to get inspected by the Department of Transport, but it doesn't need any engineering or anything like that if it's an original engine that came in the car. So there's certainly things that you can still do. But as far as modifying a car for additional performance or sort of as soon as you step outside of the original manufacturer guidelines or the original manufacturer equipment is when they're really cracking down hard in Western Australia specifically.
Yeah. So Stan, tell us, I mean, you're in the business, you do this every day.
Yes.
How many of these applications that you know of are being rejected at this stage?
In the last 5 years, I would say at least 7 or 8 that I know of that have been rejected.
Yep.
So they've opted. Obviously, they couldn't build the car with the engine that they wanted. So they want to complete the car, and this is the painful part. They've spent 60 to 80 to 100 plus on the car. So they've gone and put a smaller engine or less powered engine in the car just to get it registered. They've knowing what we're doing. I couldn't really help them too much more than what they already found on the website with the Department of Transport. So a couple of them, and I definitely won't name them, but a couple of them have had good success, but they had to go to further steps, like right up to the Ombudsman in the Department of Transport.
The Ombudsman is more there for the consumer, so someone that is having their vehicle modified and has been turned down by the Department of Transport, which in their rejection letters under the Regulation 235 that are being sent out, the Department of Transport makes the assertion that external review is not permitted.
I read that and it just does not read well at all. No, it's all it's like I said to you before, when I read those letters, I just felt really disheartened and disappointed because it's all in the message, and I think the message was not good.
And that's really the main recommendation that was provided by the Legislative Council with the Select Committee, was that the Department of Transport needs to have a clear and transparent review process, which should be external because they're a government body. So the Ombudsman for government bodies, they also cover matters with the WA Police and health and things like that. So that is something that we're hoping will be responded to very shortly. I know the government's in winter recess at the moment, so mid-August is when we should be seeing a response from them. But the crux of it is that if you're dealing with a government body, you do have a right of review to the Ombudsman.
Yep.
That's right.
No.
Regardless of what the Department of Transport says.
Yes.
You have a right of review. You're talking to a government body, they make a decision you're not happy with, then there is a right of review, as much as they want to say there's not.
Yep.
With them restricting these modifications, I mean, we all know technology is moving forward, and there's so much aftermarket gear that can go on these modified vehicles. But what I personally get very, very frustrated with the department is and this is just speaking on my behalf, is just watching people that are willing to spend a lot of money on an old car to make it safer than what it ever was. But the department is not looking at any future technologies to incorporate into these cars.
I'm going to go a step further and ask you, Stan, do you think they have the best interest of the industry at heart here? And I'm talking about it is a measurable industry in Western Australia, the automotive aftermarket modification industry.
You've hit that on the head, Nick, because part of Claude Delice's research into that, which we presented to the Legislative Council, was 11 billion, was it, James? $11 billion. I know it was $11 billion of revenue. That was, and I don't know whether that was in New South Wales or just South Australia, but South Australia is the working model of exactly what is bringing old cars out of the sheds, bringing businesses and employment. And we've presented all this, not just our argument about the modification rules and how the revenue through government is going to impact on everything. So Aaron Stonehouse, for example, was very shocked when he saw all those figures, and he said, "Look," and to be honest with you, that's one of the reasons why he said, "Look, I'm happy to go in and bat for you."
Yeah.
So, yeah, Nick, with the department declining these things, they're killing businesses as well.
It is, and I can't. That's the bit that I can't get my head around as well. Is the fact that it's a tangible industry in Western Australia.
Yes.
It's a big industry, and I think people brush past it. They don't really focus on it. I think in Western Australia we have our minds set on footy and mining and retail. Really, they're the three things I think we focus on in this state, and I don't think we really take much notice of the aftermarket automotive performance industry and how important it is to Western Australia.
In fact,
Claude touched really well on this in his introduction video.
Yes.
Where he is involved quite heavily in the vehicle industry, sort of more commercial level than Stan's obviously a vehicle restorer.
Yes.
Claude does vehicle industry stuff, but sort of on a sort of a fringe, I guess, of vehicle modifications. His analogy where they could hire more apprentices, the workshops and your local parts stores are going to see more business, and
yes,
there's all these technical skills that we're losing here in WA and across Australia, with the closure of the vehicle manufacturing, and certainly keeping these industries alive and these skills is something that's really valuable, and it's a really proud part of Australian history is Holden and Ford and other manufacturers as well, but particularly Holden and Ford in Australia, and it's something that we don't want to see die. Absolutely, and helping the industry along. It's not something that's going to come at a cost really to the government. They're doing it from a public safety point of view, but there's also there's economic impacts, which has somewhat of a public safety, and it's indirect obviously, but there's mental health, and there's strongly performing economy means people are more securely employed, and there's less unemployment, things like that. There's all of those things to consider, which are all of these really very tangible benefits to what is a huge industry. And I know there's a pretty big sort of annoyance amongst motoring enthusiasts now that there's all these part shops, they're expensive, the labour's expensive, parts are hard to get, you've got to always get everything from the eastern states. And this was really Claude's really good point, is that, well, if we were more friendly to modifications, well, there's going to be more stuff stocked here, which means there's going to be less overhead costs because we're bringing stuff in bulk rather than individually, and that overhead is going to be reduced, and the cost of everything's going to come down, the amount of work's going to go up, and it's just really a snowball that's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Where that industry is just going to explode. It's happened very, very obviously in South Australia, and obviously South Australia is a very proud state with the motoring history with Elizabeth
perfect working
plant.
model.
But it's present everywhere in Australia. I mean, there was plants here a long time ago in Western Australia for building vehicles, and that history is still here.
Yeah.
And we've still got those vehicles that were built in WA, and we still want to be proud of those vehicles and show them off and modify them if we want to.
Yeah.
It's beyond belief, I guess.
Yeah. James, you touched on a really interesting point there. I just want to go back to it because I think you might have brushed over it a little bit. Mental health. I don't think we honestly measure the impact even on mental health. I know it's going to sound strange, and if you're not into cars, you won't know, and you won't understand what we're saying. But modifying your vehicle does release.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
That's what we do, isn't it?
There's a calmness about it.
We'll all remember, and it's probably still going. I don't watch free-to-air TV, if I'm perfectly honest. But the act, belong, commit message has been something that was really heavily emphasised by local and national governments, and and we're talking about learning hobbies, learning skills, belonging in a community, being present with people. So you've learned a skill, you've modified a car, you take it to a car show, you're in amongst people that have a like-mindedness, passion, and similar interests, and that car show, they're raising money for a charity. I know, Nick, you do a lot of stuff with the charity as well, which is it is a little bit intangible talking about mental health, which is why I brushed over the point, because I was talking about tangible benefits, but it is a serious consideration. Is mental health, because it's so important. We're talking about massive costs. There was a big debate at this last election, and this was one of the main arguments of the National Labor government was that the mental health spend is not good enough by the current government, and they're talking about expanding the free psychologist sessions and things like that. And it's because people are increasingly distant with the technology and things like that, and having a physical hobby is something that can really bring people back together and bring them back to basics. And
so that's a good point, James. Yeah, physical hobby.
Yeah, it's a physical hobby
on
rather
a screen.
And that's you touched on it there, and I thought I need to get back to that. But it's such a. I think it is tangible. I really do, and I think I just want to sum up, say, I think the work that you guys are doing is amazing, and I watch, for those that are on Facebook, head to the Australian Street Machine Federation.
So facebook.com/ASMF WA.
And they can find the information there. Before I finish, I know it's not your core focus at the moment, but can you just give us a rundown on C4C, where we're at with that? Concessions for cars?
Concessions for classics. I mean, it's not the focus of our group. We've helped Eddie along, who was the one that was generating the signatures on the petition.
Eddie Arachi.
Arachi.
We've had him on as well.
Yes.
And we gave him some space at a couple of events here and there. But
we supported him right from the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not been the focus. We did have a meeting with the Department of Transport, somewhat regarding this, and more trying to focus on the modifications. But the last we've heard, they're still on track for a release by January 2021 at the latest. That was their latest word that we heard.
Okay, well, that's
it was going to be October, November, but then they
were hoping for October, November, but January by the latest, and it sounds like they're still on track.
All right. And has that altered much from what they initially put out there?
We're not sure at this stage. There was murmurs that they'd gone back to the drawing board a little bit with some of the submissions that we'd handed in, along with other members of the community. I know yourself as well. But we don't have any visibility on that at this time.
So, in short, for our listeners that are listening and watching us as well, so C4C was Concessions for Classics.
Yes.
It offered a 75% discount on registration. You needed to be a member of a recognised car club in Western Australia.
Yes.
And you could take your vehicles on club runs. And I think that was it, really, wasn't it? Yeah, that was in a nutshell. I think that was it. And it was
there was a few things more that they were considering.
And annual inspection as well.
Annual inspection was something they were considering, and they were also thinking about impromptu runs and whether or not they wanted to include that. But,
did that go through? No.
I mean, everyone gave their feedback on it. But they haven't given any clarity publicly yet.
Yeah, so that's gone to public consultation. That's closed. That closed back in
March.
March. Right on the, and then we unfortunately went into lockdown. But anyway,
Nick, I'd like to just add something quickly. I approached Street Machine magazine about a month and a half ago, and I'd like to thank Simon Telford and Boris Viskovich. They've reached out back to me and come back to us, and they're putting an editorial out for us in regards to exactly the questions you were asking us tonight. So that'll be coming out, I think, and don't quote me, but it should be in the next issue of Street Machine magazine.
That's really good to hear. I know Boris does a lot of good work for us West Australians over here, and he's pretty prominent in the magazine. He's been there a long time now, so
he is. I mean,
and Telfo as well,
and
guy.
Simon Telford. I mean, I was lucky enough to work with Boris on the WA Hot Rod committee show. So yeah, another thank you to Boris and Simon for doing that for us. And I'm sure Simon Telford said to me that what we're doing, Street Machine Magazine is backing us and will continue to back us.
Yeah. No, that's great news to hear, guys. Look, I mean, we're 50 minutes into this. I just thought, but you know, once I get started on this, I do get it. I start running away with it as well. But
that's what happens when everyone's passionate. It's easy to talk for hours on it.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, look, do you guys have anything else to add that I might have missed, or that?
At this point in time, James?
Not just yet. We're, like I said earlier, we're hoping for when the state government resumes sitting, that we'll have a little bit more to share.
Yes.
But if anyone is listening that has sent us emails or Facebook messages, we do thank you for that, and we've messaged most of you individually as well.
Yep.
But
Yep.
It really is. It's eye-opening even for us. We knew this issue was widespread, but just seeing the range of vehicles, and from pretty well stocked vehicles to heavily modified vehicles, but it's an incredibly widespread issue, and that would be, you know, why we're getting the reactions we are and the passion we are from these people in the community. That it is a serious issue.
Look, with you four guys on board, you know, it's really is a brains trust. I must say that, because I know not just the two of you, but Chris and Claude as well. You know, they are. I mean, they're well credentialed, those guys, and so too the two of you.
Yes.
So I mean, if a federation, you know, it's a very strong federation, and I think, you know, the reason that we're probably not getting the dialogue back from the department is that they are taking your questions and concerns quite seriously. Yeah. So, and that's good. I mean, that's all we want them to do, really, don't we? We're not. Yeah. This certainly hasn't been it might have come across as a dot bashing, but it's certainly not. That's not our intention.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. But we still want to maintain.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Our focus has always been on working with the Department of Transport, not ever against them. We're never going to achieve anything if we're going to work against them.
That's right, yeah.
They're an organisation that's always going to be there, and they perform a very important role in the community.
Yeah.
We just, you know, we need our voice heard, and you know, we're not trying to come across as bashing the dot, like you said. We really do support them, and we want to work with them, and we want to have, you know, evidence based reasoning for everything.
The opposition government has also approached me recently, and the Shadow Minister we will be meeting soon wants to hear what we have to say. So, I mean, I'm just happy that after 5 years, James, of keeping it under our hat, doors are opening. But I can guarantee one thing. I know with Chris, Claude, James, myself, and as long as my wife stays with me, she'll continue to do the admin.
She's a good Calabrese.
She's a good Calabrese woman.
She's not going anywhere.
Well, yeah, I think I mentioned to you off this podcast, I grew up with a lot of the ethnic community. So, as an Indian coming from Singapore, you know, growing up here, I'm part Wog. Thanks, Nick, for.
No, it's been a pleasure, and I really enjoyed this tonight. I know it was a little bit. My apologies, it was a little bit late last minute and a bit rushed, but thanks for having us here to start with, and thanks for making the time as well, because I've really enjoyed this, and I got a lot out of this today. I know I did. I have been researching it over some time now, but I got even today, and I watched a fair bit of video footage, and I thought to myself, this is a cause that needs to be spoken about. So I really appreciate what you're doing and what you guys have been up to.
Oh, thanks a lot, Nick. We realise that it's a pretty difficult topic to cover everything across, and actually spending the time on it is a credit to you, because it takes a lot of effort to go through information.
No, it was a pleasure. All right, look, we'll take a short break here, and we'll be back with more right after this. The Auto One customer loyalty program, the Auto One Club, has been designed to provide privileges to loyal customers. Head on over to www.auto1.com.au and click on the club membership tab, or alternatively head into your local Auto One store and ask about the benefits that come with being a loyal Auto One club member. While you're in the store, be sure to check out Auto One's extensive range of Impact Automotive garage tools, floor mats and coolant. The Impact Automotive range offers quality products at affordable prices. From a 3-ton heavy-duty trolley jack to an adjustable mechanic seat, the Impact Automotive range has a garage tool that'll suit your needs. The range has also well over 20 different types of floor and boot mats to suit your ride. They come in rubber or fabric with a PVC backing to stop slipping. Also in the range is an extensive choice of coolant. Whether it be pre-mixed or concentrate, the long life range of red and green Impact Automotive coolant is bound to have a product that suits your needs. To view the full range of Impact Automotive products, head on over to www.auto1.com.au or visit one of their stores. Auto One is committed to bringing you the brands you know and trust at great prices. Coupled with their team's knowledge and experience, Auto One, it's the one. Okay, welcome back to episode 91 of the Talk and Power podcast, and it was great to catch up with Stan and James there from the Australian Street Machine Federation. It was good to have their views, and it was nice to catch up with those guys, and it was very nice of Stan to have us at his house. We really appreciated that. Now, without further ado, we got some more guests. So it's a big episode, this one. We got Ross Tapper, once again from Targa West, and David Smith. Thanks for joining us, guys. Thanks for coming on at late notice, really. How's things?
Yeah, it's good, mate. Thanks for inviting us once again. It's always good to have a chat about motorsport.
No dramas.
You had to bring up the fact that I was late to the conference.
Well, I didn't bring it up. I said thanks for joining us at late notice.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I just must have felt victimised again.
I didn't throw you under the bus at all, David. Hey, look, we're on the eve. We're just about on the eve of Targa South West. So, any late entries we need to know about, or any exciting news for the Southwest, Targa South West? That is.
We're very happy with our entries. We did have 50 entries, and one of the electric cars has pulled out, and as has one of the competitors, so that we couldn't get parts. He got parts for his car sent over, and they were the wrong parts. So. But anyway, we got 48 starters, and last year we had 34. So very happy with being able to get for that, and considering what's going on in the world.
That's over a 50% increase.
Yeah,
it's incredible. Yeah.
So when you get 34 entries, you start thinking, I don't really want to go small, and then COVID comes along, and you go, what's going to happen? But it's turned out well for us, and from officials and the competitors, they're all just busting, get down there and let's get out and go and do what we love.
No, certainly.
Can I ask what the part was that didn't show up? It wasn't a battery, was it?
No, Dave might know.
No. It wasn't the electric car. It wasn't the electric car that needed a part. It was actually an old Corvette, so it could be anything, mate.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, no, it was Nathan Element, so he's now going to be 100% ready for Targa West. That's the upside for him, that he can now get the car ready, and there'll be nothing go wrong in Pemberton, so he'll be ready for Targa West in October.
Yeah, did I see right as well on the entry list? Did I see Peter Rulo on the entry list? He hasn't been in Southwest for some time. Is that right? Did I see right? Was that correct?
Yeah. He did the very first one, and we haven't seen him down in Targa Southwest since. So, and he's got his little Lotus, and bumped into him over the weekend down there doing his recce, and he's excited to get out there and have some fun.
Oh no, that's good. That's
great.
That is
great.
excellent news. Yeah, yep. And forgive me, I don't remember the gentleman's name with the Porsche 9. Oh, geez, it was the 9. He was at the hill climb in Albany as well. Yeah, Mark Cates. Sorry, that's him. Yeah.
There's a 991.
Yeah, 991. Sorry,
Mark Cates is. We've actually got two of them. Mark Cates has got one, and Jeff and Kath Foster have actually just upgraded theirs too. So there'll actually be two brand new Porsches down there, both the same bloody colour too. So it's going to be hard to tell them apart.
So, I mean, that said, there's some reasonable, some talent and some really reasonable cars heading down there for this event. So it's interesting to see that you've seen the growth in numbers as well, and some pretty heavy hitters making their way down there.
Oh yeah, like the top. Just looking at the top 6 cars or 7 cars, including Jeffrey Foster, as Dave was just mentioning. Then you got Dave Heaton, Dennis Heller, Mark Cates, John O'Dowd and the Skoda, Will White, Peter Rollo and Mark Greenham. So flip a coin to see who's going to come out on top out of that lot.
Yeah.
Now Mark's going for Mark's going for a hat trick, is that right, Greenham?
Yeah, Mark Greenham is, yeah.
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 No. I mean, I guess
it'll
it's probably
be quite
hard.
interesting. It'll be quite interesting because at the top of the field you've got the 2 Porsches, then you've got Pete Rouleau's Exige, which has just been upgraded to the latest Targa spec Exige, and Houston Back bought a very well sorted Exige as well. So at the pointy end of the field, there's certainly some spectacular cars.
Yeah, okay. When you say Targa spec, then when you throw what did he do to bring it to what you call a Targa spec, as opposed to when he had it at Targa West in last year?
Lotus have actually released, or Lotus Australian, I can't remember the company that's the manufacturer, but they've actually released a limited edition Targa model. So it's got a bigger, from what I understand, it's got a bigger supercharger, a little bit more grunt, significantly more grunt, but also a sequential flappy paddle gearbox.
Wow.
So Pete actually showed me some in-car footage from a practice session that the car had done out at Sydney Motorsport Park after they had tuned it. And the thing is a rocket ship, absolute rocket ship. So it'll be very, very interesting to see how a car that, minimum weight is supposed to be 1310 kilos compared to, I think the Porsche is 1750 kilos. So it'll be interesting to see how the two actually compare.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Are they a V6, the Lotus?
Yep.
Are they a Toyota
Yeah, they are.
V6?
Oh, so you're going to claim it as a Camry, are you?
I'm pretty sure it's a Camry engine.
They are. They get really upset when you say that.
Well,
On an apple,
if
banana,
the shoe
banana.
fits.
Yeah.
Oh, mate. I'd welcome your Camry down there, actually. Do you think it'd actually do the Pemberton Northcliffe stage, Simon, without sort of assistance? Or, no.
We don't think it'll get to
Something would
Pemberton.
fall off, maybe a window.
Oh, dear.
But there's time. We've got room for improvement. We have time on our side.
Hey guys, while we're here, why don't you tell us you got some news on some plans that you're doing with a sister state of ours in South Australia? Can you elaborate a little bit further on that?
Yeah, we can, mate. We're just at 5:30 this afternoon, in conjunction with South Australia, the Adelaide Rally. They have a 4-day, was the Classic Adelaide Rally. They're now just calling it Adelaide Rally. And a rally sprint over there. They're running those 2 events, and we, of course, run Southwest and Targa West. So just a bit of promotion, cross-bordering to encourage competitors to come over here. And our competitors, quite a few of them, I think 10 have entered Adelaide Rally this year. So for us, it can only be win-win if we can get a few of them to come over here, and maybe a few of ours will go over to the Adelaide Rally. So. And the point structure is encouraged to you'll pick up bonus points if you cross the border.
Yeah, okay.
And of course, the bigger events get more points than the smaller events. So, and we fully understand that where COVID is, it's a good idea that Tim Possingham from South Australia has come up with. So with COVID, it may come undone, but let's hope that between now and October for our event and November for their event that the people can move. If not, we've got the name out there, we've got the logo, and we'll be ready to go as soon as COVID allows us to cross the border and start competing.
That sounds awesome. That really sounds
Yeah,
awesome.
that's really good.
We used to do something similar in drag racing with the tin tops. We used to have around in South Australia and around in WA. and it brings the whole community together. It's great.
Yeah, like immediately it went up on the South Australians Facebook. There was a reply, looks like we're going to WA next year. So that doesn't mean until they get here and they're on the start line, it doesn't mean they're coming here. But at least it's a positive reaction, and we can build on that. And a lot of the guys have been over there, done the Eastern States events, but very few have come here. So hopefully they can come over and see something totally different, because our Targa West is completely different to any of the events over east.
Yeah. They'll be hooked, mate. They'll be hooked.
They'll make it an annual pilgrimage. Like a lot of races do with, events that it's like the Western Nationals, isn't it, Simon? A lot of people make that an annual pilgrimage to Western Australia for drag racing. Like, completely different, obviously, but still people make an event out of it, or a trip. It's their family trip as well. Roughly what time of the year are you looking at, Ross?
Oh, well, it'll be the 4 events. So we normally run Targa South West in May and Targa West in August, and their rally sprint is in September and Adelaide rally's in November. And that's a normal year.
That's excellent.
So we may stick to our dates. Like, we're getting a lot of good feedback from people about running Targa West in October, in particular running our Targa Bunbury sprint in February. In December the 5th, which will be a day-night event, and I think that'll attract a lot of people. So, Motorsport Australia is asking us for dates for our rallies now, and we don't know what to do, because we haven't run any events this year to see what's going to work for next year. Yeah.
No, that's fair enough. Now, Targa, while we're here, Targa West, how is that? We're still locked in. Oh, man, all things going. Whenever I ask these sort of questions, I mean, we're assuming that, the health situation doesn't alter in Western Australia, but we're still right for the 22nd, 23rd and 24th of October. Is that correct?
Yeah, and the 25th.
And the 25th.
Certainly, we haven't had any local government say that, no, because of COVID. And admittedly, I haven't got all the approvals in writing, but we are talking to them, and it's all looking very good. The big news on that one, of course, is that Langley Park, not only do we have the Targa City Sprint, which is for those who don't want to do the whole Targa West, entries open for that today, and we've got 11 in the first hour. So that's a good sign there. And then Targa West, of course, comes in the afternoon, but we're also running the Shannon's Classic on the Swan this year, isn't it, Dave? Yep. Which are the classic cars along the edge of the Swan River. Celebration on Motorsport will run again on Langley Park. But the other big news is because of the clash of calendars, and we moved into the All Fords Day calendar, they'd already booked Langley Park, and they've generously allowed us to use Langley Park as well as themselves. So there could be 500 plus Fords on top of everything that we're doing as well. So it's going to be a big day of motorsport and cars in general.
Nick, you need to make sure we get our entries in for that one, mate.
Yes. I'll have
All Ford Day. You got it locked in or what?
Yeah.
Definitely. No, we'll have to do something there for sure. We have got a trailer load of cars down there, I think. We'll try and get the BA down there as well, Simon.
Yeah, definitely.
No, so Lotus badge on it, Simon. It'll make it more acceptable. But a bit of motorsport heritage, you'll be able to get onto the classics or celebration of motorsport if you put a Lotus badge on the Camry,
I was thinking the BA, but
no, Camry.
Yeah.
No, that sounds very exciting, guys. It is great news, and we're really happy to hear that things are progressing well. We also got the news earlier in the week or late last week that the Motorplex is will be reopening in October with private test days to commence this month in August. So that's great news as well. So I guess at some point you'll be contacted by the track and we'll see the Targa Rally Sprints commence again.
Yeah, they called me last week to say that it was all happening. It's only because I've got South West. We haven't had a bit of time to go down there, so we've got to work out our rally sprint calendar that hopefully we can announce within the fortnight after this weekend. And of course, the WA Car Club runs the autocrosses down there, which is very cheap, good fun motorsport, running around their speedway track. So we'll get down there and we'll get the dates locked away for the rally sprints and the autocrosses, and have that news ready for you in the coming weeks.
Oh,
you know, Ross,
excellent.
I had no idea that we ran autocross here in Western Australia, because we do a lot of work for teams in South Australia. I didn't realise we ran it here.
Yeah. You know, well, autocross is what we run around the speedway track. We just put some tyre bundles and weave the cars in and out, and it's really good fun. But autocrosses in other areas down at Bunbury, they have a brilliant track where they're getting huge numbers. It's generally sold out with the South West Touring Car Club. And up at Beverley, that's Bormser, they call themselves, Beverley Off-Road Motorsport Association, and they get good numbers up there as well. So that's cheap, good fun motorsport, and a great start for anyone who's, you can do it from 14 years of age. So go and buy a cheap car for your kids, take them to autocrosses, and the winter go to Beverley or Bunbury. Summer come down to the Motorplex and run down there.
Where can I find the rules on that?
Probably on the Motorsport Australia website.
There's some information on autocross.com.au.
Okay.
And then Bormser have got their own website, and South West Touring Car Club have got their own as well. But it's gravel. We run them as gravel events. I'm not sure what they're like in South Australia, but we run them as gravel events over here. And it's sort of a step up from Carnacross. So Carnacross is pretty much like a motor carna on gravel, sort of stop in a garage, start in a garage. Autocross is the next step up, so it's a bit faster, a bit longer stages, and then you sort of go to the rally sprints, which we run obviously on tarmac for Targa, but we also run them elsewhere on gravel as part of Rally WA. So it's sort of a progression. It's a nice progression if you're looking at tarmac or gravel.
Yep. Simon, if I may interrupt here, but if you speak with Adam, a fellow podcaster, Adam Ward, he's all over autocross and Motorcarna. He participates at Borsma as well quite regularly. It is
that the car that they've got?
The Ford Festiva, the Festi AF.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, the
Festi AF.
Yep. So
right. All right, the plot thickens.
With Adam, and he's all over it. He's on what I understand at Borsma, so I'm sure he'll be able to point you in the right direction there.
Yeah, Bormser sell out. They sell out regularly with 40 cars at each of their events, because they can only really sort of fit between 40 and 45 up there in the time they've got available. South West Touring Car Club have got normally 70 at each of their rounds. And then at the Motorplex, we have sort of upwards of 50. Again, we're sort of limited to 50, 55 purely because of the time that's available to us on a Wednesday night.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, look, let's just wrap up here. We'll get back to Targa South West, Saturday, 8th of August, down in Pemberton. If I'm heading down there, where do we head to first? Or we go to the website, check out the details there. Would that be the best way to do it?
Yeah, targasouthwest.com.au. Dave's done a very good spectator guides in there. We don't have any available down there. We do print it in the local newspaper, so you can pick up the Pemberton or the Northcliffe papers, or just grab it off the website. Starts at 8:30 on Saturday morning, and we're running through into the dark at night. So the last stage around the Pemberton town stage will be as the sun's going down, so that'll be something different and something new for the event. So it's a full day of competition, and at the moment the weather's looking brilliant, so hopefully we're going to get a nice chilly morning to get started, and then some sunshine during the day, so it's going to be a great day of motorsport.
No, well, I'm sure everyone's looking forward to it. And also, I mean, I urge all of our listeners that are heading down there, try and support the local towns as well, by dinner or lunch or whatever it may be. Pemberton, Manjimup, all those, and Northcliffe as well, all those surrounding towns, they can certainly, I mean, you've really got to kind of go through Manji to get to Pemby. So, try and support those local towns down there. And, I think it's awesome, and I'm sure everyone's looking forward to it.
Maybe we should have a vote for best bakery after the event. They can all ring you up and let you know. You know, you could stop at Dardanup, you could stop at Bridgetown. Maybe you'll be able to. Let's just say minimum weights in the cars won't be an issue for the event.
Roll out of the car.
I think there's a nice one in Balingup from memory. There's a really good one in
Balingup, Boynup,
bakery.
Donnybrook.
Yeah, isn't there one down there that claims to have the best meat pies in Australia?
Mate, there isn't a bakery in Australia that doesn't have the world-winning meat pies.
But all those regional towns, I mean, they've taken a bit of a knock too. A lot of agricultural field days have been cancelled, as we know. So, you know, what you guys are doing down there is really awesome for those local towns, because Balingup Field Day didn't go ahead this year, and that's a huge field day for that whole area down there. And without that, I mean, that really knocked them about a bit. So it's great that you guys are doing that. And just as Todd's cat runs in front of the screen there.
I was going to say something else, but anyway. I think it's great that you guys are, I mean, you're kind of almost helping kickstart WA's tourism again with this event. This is pretty, you know,
like
the timing of it.
Some of our competitors and officials have to go to Manjimup, which we haven't done before, so
one of the guys today, Ross, picking up his stickers because there's 12 of them in the friends, family, crew, etc. They've had to book in Bridgetown, so they can't get anywhere closer.
Wow, that's a considerable distance away, Bridgetown. From Pemby. That is that's a reasonable distance away. So
I'll tell you what, I don't reckon any of the local businesses are going to be unhappy that the event's on. That's for sure.
Yeah, and as Simon said, it is. And as Simon said, it's like you're kind of the first big event. I mean, apart from the footy, this is kind of the first big sporting event that the state has had since the COVID lockdown. So
definitely the first one out of town. You know what I mean? The first one to get people in their cars and out of town. It's I think it's great. It's fantastic. You can always rely on motorsport, boys.
Yeah, that's true. And we can always rely on you guys as well, Ross and David. We really appreciate what you're doing, and we urge all of our listeners to try and support the event as best as they can. Head to the website, get the details there. But as Ross just said before, 8:30 a.m. start in Pemberton. You probably need to head down from Friday night, but if you want to be there for the start, but it's a lovely drive down that neck of the woods in any event, and it's a beautiful day. So no excuses, really, no excuses at all. All right, guys. Well, look, we'll let you get back to what you need to do, and if there's anything we can help you with, let us know, and we look forward to catching up with you soon.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Todd.
See you guys. Take care.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, we'll bring this one to a close. So, Auto One, like, share, comment on this Facebook post for episode 91. You go on the run-in to win a $50 gift card. You too can be like John Sabo and spend that $50 on his new secret weapon, which we're not allowed to say anything about. So congratulations to John, and thanks to the team at Auto One. I was out there on Friday night as well, catching up with the guys at the Belcata store. Had to get a few supplies, and actually took the XW for a spin there as well, and had it parked out the front. So caught up with the guys there at Auto One in Belcata. They always like it when I pull up, especially on
Nick, did you clean the puddle of oil up after you left?
No, I didn't. But I'll answer that. No, I didn't. But have you noticed the front of Auto One Belcata? There are oil patches they're massive. They're like that. When I
Yeah.
took some snaps there, and you look at all the other bays, and they're all pretty clear, but the ones in front of Auto 1 in Balcatta are quite incredibly big. So,
Have you ever, sort of considered that you go there a fair bit? Just saying,
Yes, I know. I got to get that engine out, fix that rear main, actually. So I should get onto that sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Well, guys.
Put that else one in there.
No, I will not be doing that, Todd. All right, guys. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining us on this podcast, and we'll catch you in a couple of weeks' time. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, Nick.
All right, thanks, Nick.
See you, Todd. See you, Nick.
See ya.
Talk and Power, your motorsport and motoring radio show. Now on 88.5 FM. The Valley Comes Alive. And podcasting across iTunes and talkandpower.com.au.